I was nervous to work with family too, I thought that was going to be different, but you were in need of somebody, and I went to school for communications and marketing in undergrad, and I think this will be good. And you were like, it can be temporary, we can see how this goes, and now it's a career.
I'm Brannon Poe, and this is the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast, where you can enjoy engaging conversations about mergers and acquisitions and accounting practice management. Listen in on strategies to build a more fun and valuable accounting firm. Welcome to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. We have a special guest and a special format today. I have with me Bailey Ball, who just so happens to be my daughter, and she works in our company as our marketing director. And she is going to interview me today, and I don't know what she's going to ask, so this should be interesting. Welcome, Bailey.
It'll be fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I guess, do I give a background on myself?
Yeah, let's you let our listeners know a little bit more about you, for sure.
Yeah, so I just do the marketing. I help with marketing strategy, and so the postcards you see I help with, and all of the ads that hopefully pop up on your Google accounts and follow you around on YouTube, I assist with, and I help market all the firms that we have, and I help get the firms that we market. So it's been fun. I've been doing it. When did I come on? I think it was
2021.
January 21. Yeah. So, before that, I was a teacher in COVID. So
yes, not a fun time to be a teacher.
No. Okay, so I have questions for you, and most of them are nice. Most of them are
most of them are nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you why you love helping accountants.
I think one of the things I've noticed about my own career is I really don't like stagnation. The periods when I'm most frustrated and upset with my career is when it feels stagnant. And I think what we do is we help people really make some big change in their life, whether it's buying a firm or selling a firm or getting it to change, transforming a firm. And I think what all those people have in common is they're looking for something new in their lives. They're looking for, to end whatever period that they're in. And often it's a stagnating period or a period that they're not totally content with, and they're looking for something new. And so I like helping them do that.
I like it. And then why did you decide to sell CPA firms? Because when I was little, you were, in fact, a CPA, and you did auditing, which sounds mind-numbingly awful, honestly.
Well,
auditing specifically.
Speaking of stagnation, I went into public practice. I started at E&Y, and I was an auditor, and I was not happy doing that. I didn't like it. I liked parts of it. I think I got some good experience, and I definitely learned how to work hard. That was back when they would work us 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week. And I learned a tremendous amount, and I'm grateful for the experience. But I just knew that's wasn't what I always wanted to do. So I tried sales. I had a sales role in a plumbing distribution company. Yeah, small company.
I remember that.
And
what was that place? Was that wasn't Nature's Community Supply?
Community Supply.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed doing sales. I was calling on plumbers and builders, and those are some of the hardest people to call on. And so I developed the ability to sell, and I enjoyed that. And so when I stumbled on the ability to use my sales skills and my accounting skills, I felt like it was a natural fit.
Yeah. And you did that in When did you start that? I was like in the third or fourth grade when you started.
2003.
2003. Third
2000.
grade then.
That's right. So yeah, you were just,
I was
and
little.
and if you recall, I did that in addition to my day job because
Yeah.
we had three children and I was the breadwinner of the family. And so this was a business that I started in my spare time.
Yep. And you employed mom.
I
And
did
I'm
briefly.
sure that this is in her podcast that you also fired mom.
I think employed is a loose term.
She helped.
She was helping and she had, a lot of other things to focus on with having three small children. And so, when I got a little bit established, decided to hire somebody and I came home and I said, Carol, I hired Morgan. And she said, oh, what's Morgan going to do for us? And I said, well, she's going to do these things. And she goes, hey, isn't that what I do? I'm like, yeah, it kind of is what you do. She goes, am I being fired? I'm like,
I guess
I
so.
guess maybe you are. So, yeah, she likes to tell people I
Rough.
fired her, but it was a
I
little,
know.
it was
A
all
little different.
a little different.
But she started working for you again in like 10 years ago now.
It's been,
Right?
yeah, she came
It's been a
in,
long time.
she came into the company. It might have been longer than that. I think it was, I can't remember exactly when it was. We had the financial crisis
Yeah.
was rough on this business and just like it was for a lot of people. And we lost a couple of people that left. Not
Yeah.
we didn't have to let them go, but we had a couple people left and we were just sort of like, well, we just won't rehire for a little while and
Yeah.
ride out the storm and then things started to pick up and I think that's when your mom came back in. But
Yeah.
she was
Mom and Stephanie were the crew there for a minute.
yeah, there were three of us for a little.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we started to grow after the
Yeah.
financial crisis.
Well, I remember doing your filing in high school when you were still just like a three-man show. And
Yeah.
you'd say you're filing for me for like a whole year. And I'd be filing like 400 pieces of paper and receipts. I guess that's how I started.
Yeah. Well, you just get around stuff and you sort of pick it up
Yeah.
by osmosis almost. So
Yeah. And when you wrote Accountant's Flight Plan, I think you had everybody who would read it and give you feedback. So even me, I was like in the 11th grade or something when you wrote Accountant's Flight Plan, and I remember. So I guess that prepped me a bit for
that's right.
coming on board.
You were always a good writer and I think you had some pretty good edits and found some typos and
Yeah.
so.
Still find typos for the whole crew right now.
Yeah.
That's one of my
got to get rid of those typos.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what I wanted to ask was what's it like to work with your daughter, with me?
It's a privilege. It's
Sweet.
yeah, it's an honor and a privilege and I enjoy it's cool to see how much you've developed. I don't know if you've realized it, but like if you think back 3.5 years ago, like you've come a long way in that short amount of time. And I do think we have an environment that's conducive to like a lot of learning and my management style is pretty loose. And so people who learn and can thrive in that environment. And so you have thrived and that's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I started out just as like an office assistant in January of 21.
Yeah.
So very different job, really.
Yeah,
now we're hiring an office assistant. We've grown so much even since 2021.
Yeah.
Brought on like 4 new team members since then, just
here in the leadership team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're at 20 plus people now on the team total.
Yeah.
And when you came in, I don't know,
maybe 10. 10 or 12
Yeah, I
people.
think
We've like doubled since.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. It's kind of crazy. It's
Yeah.
been good, fast growth, and we've got some good people on the team. And you work with me and you work with your wife, which leads me to my next question, which is, do you think there are any advantages to working with family?
I think the key advantage is, well, I think there are a lot of advantages to it. Yeah, there's that trust, and that's uh, really uh, that takes a while to build with a team member,
Yeah.
and it kind of comes built in with family. And we're fortunate that we really have you guys. I feel like, well, really, most of the people on our team are able to be in a role that fits them, fits their personalities and their talents. And um, that's the nice thing about it. When you're growing fast, you can shift people into where they need to be faster. So
Yeah.
you started in that admin role. It was just a foot in the door. And then once we sort of understood where you gravitated toward, we could kind of move you into a new role. So, but I think trust is probably one of the biggest things. The other thing is, you can be candid with your family and they can be candid with you. And
I would say that some of our teammates would probably argue maybe you and I get a little too candid sometimes.
Yes, we don't always see eye to eye, but that's good.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have a little bit of healthy confrontation, and I believe we have that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's when you're
Sometimes
in
we
a
tease each other a bit much, probably.
yeah, and when you're in I think we're a very entrepreneurial environment, and
Yeah.
those environments can be emotional, so
Yeah. Yeah.
we're sort of passionate people, all of us,
Yeah.
and so it's I sometimes feel a little bad for Ian in particular. He's on our leadership team, and he's in the middle of some of those discussions, and
Yeah.
might be a little uncomfortable place to be sometimes.
No. He's good at mediating us and bringing us back to the kind of the crux of the issue
Yeah,
a
for
lot.
sure.
But yeah, I would say for me, working with you, like in some ways, I wonder if I have higher expectations of myself because like I really don't want to disappoint you. And I think I would feel that way in any, I mean, I've obviously worked other places and had other bosses, but there's like even though I don't own part of the company, there's a sense of ownership and like this is your legacy and I want to,
Yeah.
I want to do well. So I can see how that trust, it's built in. I'm sounding board to be, like you said, really candid. Like I probably hear that you're frustrated or, random things more than you would ever tell a random marketing director,
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
know the inner workings a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, so do you think that there's anything you would recommend to like an accountant that's thinking about hiring family?
Well, one of the things, if you recall, and this, I got advice from a good friend of mine that I'm in EO with, and he works with his daughter. And he said, clear boundaries when you're not working. And I don't know if you remember that, but I remember saying, we really need to work on when we're not working, let's don't talk about work. When we're on vacation or we're together on the weekends or after work,
Yeah.
let's keep it very separate.
Yeah.
And you agreed, and we've worked hard. Every once in a while it creeps in, and that's
Yeah.
natural.
And we'll be like, wait a minute.
Hey,
Like in the pool this weekend.
Yeah.
We realized we were talking shop.
Yeah. So I think having those boundaries is good. And
Yeah.
And two, it's not fair to your siblings, right? Your brothers are not this, and it's not nice to them to talk shop while they're to enjoy just a weekend or something.
Yeah. But I'm your favorite child, right?
You're my
That's one
favorite
of my
daughter.
questions. Yeah. I'm the only daughter. No. Well, I'm not getting taken on a fun boys trip to Vegas with the boys this on the
Yeah,
4th of July.
sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, to put some color on that, we have Bailey has two siblings, younger brothers, and we're doing a little boys trip, and they're adults, and
Yeah. They're
so they want to go
forget
to
how old they are sometimes. They're what, 26 and 25 now?
27 and 25. Hayden's 27.
Oh, that's right. He's
Yeah.
27. Weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. Well, do you enjoy providing me with a lot of free lunches?
Yes, I do. And it's so funny. You want to tell that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right when I started working, I my dad kept asking me to go to lunch, and we would go to lunch like every day for a week. We went to lunch out, and and then the next week I came into the office and he goes, "Hey, don't think I'm gonna just be buying you free lunches every day, okay? I'm not gonna be buying you free lunches every day." And then I guess a few days later, I asked if he wanted to go to lunch. I was like, "But don't worry, I'll pay." And he was like, "No, no, no, no." Like, and now we probably go to lunch, what, twice a week, every week?
We
Just
probably do.
about, maybe more.
Yeah, yes.
But it's
Yes.
nice. It's
It
really
is
nice.
nice. It is nice. But
Yeah,
yeah, I wonder how many lunches I bought you in the last 3.5
so
years.
many. It's a perk. It's like a, it's a perk of the job for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is Liesel. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Accountant's Flight Plan. We've got a special offer for our listeners. If you want to save $250 on Accounting Practice Academy, our 8-week practice management workshop, use the promo code POD250 when you submit your application and start building a practice you would buy.
I was nervous to work with family too, I thought that was going to be different, but you were in need of somebody, and I went to school for communications and marketing in undergrad, and well, I think this will be good. And you were like, it can be temporary, like, we can see how this goes, and now it's a career. So pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what's strange is like I've known a lot of people, other business owners, and they really want their kids to come in and take over the businesses. And I remember you wanted to come into the business right after college.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no. And we, I didn't say no just as a knee-jerk no. I really thought about it, and I talked with some people. And the advice I got, and the thinking that we sort of agreed with, was that it's better if you didn't come right in after school. Like if you went out, got a job at arm's length with a other employer, kind of see what the world's like and what it's like to work for various people. And then if you ever came back around and wanted to come in, you could, we would be open to it.
Yeah.
At least have a conversation about it. And that's exactly what happened. And so I didn't want to push you into the business or not have you have experience. Like, I wanted you to know there were other options. If you didn't want to stay in the family business, there were other options out in the world. And I wanted you to have the confidence that you knew those were available to you.
Yeah.
And it was a choice. It wasn't like a convenient thing to just come into the family business, that it was a choice.
Yeah.
And I think that served us both well.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm glad, even though I'm not an active teacher anymore, I am glad that I, did that. I think that I gained a lot of skills that are applicable even now, I think, in strategy planning and helping you decide if the lesson plans were learnable and interesting when you were developing APA, and which I guess I did that while I was a teacher. I did that before I was
Yeah,
employed.
you were kind of you were a consultant to the creation of
Yeah,
Accounting Practice Academy.
yeah, yeah,
You were. You remember we did actually your handwriting is on the 8 modules
yeah,
that we scribbled together when we created the overall outline of it.
yeah, yeah. That was fun. That was a different way to apply those skills. I
Yeah.
feel like at all, and learning's never wasted. So, um, I'm glad I took the path I did.
Yeah. And you
Made
kind
that
of
start.
realize how good it was to work for Poker
Yeah, I
Advisors
mean, the
after.
Charleston County School District is a bit more bureaucratic than Poe Group Advisors, I would say. We moved a lot slower than, than we move in office. We come up with an idea and it might be implemented by Friday. Which
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah.
maybe we should slow down a bit, but yeah. I feel like the industry has changed a lot since you started selling CPAs. And even since I started working here full time. What do you see have been the biggest changes in the industry?
I would say 2 things. One is the cloud cloud space, being able to really operate a firm virtually and do that very well. That I've seen, I think we sold our first cloud firm maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, really?
And but then I remember when we sold it, I had no idea that if we could even sell it. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
what the market would be like. And um, we got some really good buyer interest on that firm, that very first cloud firm. And
What was your hesitation? Why did you think people wouldn't be interested?
because it was a model that was really new. I had one of the very first. It was one of the very first people who worked with Zero. This was back before QuickBooks Online, I think, had even really been a thing. And Zero was the software package out of Australia that was, their claim to fame is they were born online. And so this was one of the first Canadian firm owners that adopted Zero. And she sold the practice when it was kind of in its infancy. So it was just a new, we had never sold one.
Yeah.
I don't think too many people anywhere in the world had sold a firm like that.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't exist. And so now in 2024, when this is being recorded, they're probably the fastest growing segment of the industry.
Yeah.
And they are cutting edge and they are fast growing and they're very exciting businesses. And they're, we've learned a lot about those, and the people who start them and run them tend to be more entrepreneurial accountants. And so that's been a big shift. And I think now we're seeing this another big shift, which could be a bigger shift, and that is the influx of private equity into the industry. What it's come up really fast. It's really been amazing how quickly private equity has turned interest into this industry. So that'll be interesting. I don't know how long that cycle will last.
Yeah. Do you feel, I know we've had some conversations about it, but like, what are your gut thoughts on sort of private equity entering the industry?
Well, I think it'll be a very disruptive force. And in some ways, it'll be good for the industry because it's an industry that needs a little bit of disruption. In that it's
innovation is needed.
Yeah, there are a lot of practitioners that are doing things the way they've always done them, and they have been very slow to change. I mean, it's a notoriously slow changing profession. That's the history of the accounting industry. And the problem with that is I don't think a lot of practitioners are serving business clients truly in the way that they need to be served. And private equity is going to recognize that opportunity, and they're going to work to capture that opportunity, to capitalize on it, which will be good for those firms. It'll be good for those business clients. I think where there'll be a lot of negative is just the messiness of that disruption. And there will be some people who don't do it well. And there will be some big, massive failures. And there will be some people, there will be some clients that scatter when these firms buy out. There will be team members that scatter away from some of these buyers because it's just the nature of this whole.
So different than so many of these firm owners.
Yeah, people don't know what they don't know, and they'll come and buy firms and they'll make big mistakes.
Yeah.
And when you have a lot of money that's coming in and there's going to be some waste. I think that's just part of how change operates. There's always going to be some big mistakes, and that'll kind of tarnish the reputation of PE firms, I think, in our industry, perhaps. And maybe that's not fair for the ones that are doing it right. I think there'll be some that learn how to do this really well, and they do a great job with it. And those firms are going to be difficult to compete with if you don't change. So I think the industry, there's this combination of forces at play here. You've got PE coming in, you've got rapid technology changes that are really good.
Yeah.
Automation, just the software that's available in the industry is pretty amazing at this point. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the staff shortage. So you've got this trifecta of things that can impact the industry. And if it was just PE or just tech or just the staff changes, I don't think the industry would change that much.
Really? You think because it's all three?
I think with all three, you're going to see massive change.
I think what's interesting with PE is they're coming in with a different kind of strategy for growth, and they see the potential. It seems like some of them are very unaware of the accounting staffing shortage. So some of their growth goals aren't as feasible as they think they are. But they are infusing a lot of money. So I think that could improve the staffing shortage. So I don't know.
I think it will have a lot of upward pressure on salaries.
Yeah.
Which will pull people into the profession, but that will take a long time to go through the system, because you got to pull people through school, and then they've got to get experience. So before they're actually really productive practitioners, there's going to be quite a lag.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, that's where technology and offshoring are going to come into play, and all those things are very disruptive and prone to failure and mistakes. So.
What do you think that we can do as, M&A to prevent the firms that we sell from having this kind of?
Well, we can do a good job of assessing these firms and help separate the kind of the good from bad, if you will. I joke around. This is probably not the best way to describe it, and maybe I'll come up with something better later, but it's kind of like the nice list and the naughty list.
Yeah.
And but I think we've got a lot of experience transitioning firms, and we see what works, and we've seen failures too, and so we know what to look for. Not just in the transition. I'm thinking of like once the firms merge or sell. And then you've got the integration. We've seen a lot of integrations, but we've also seen a lot of deal making that goes bad.
Right.
And I think you need a good referee in a deal making process. And That way there's some structure in the deal making. And PE, they've got their own structure, but it's to their interest. And so the sellers need to have some boundaries around these deals. And I do think, accountants are typically very ethical,
Right.
very trusting, which is awesome. Some of these PE firms, they don't have the same ethical standards. And so their terms of engagement, the expectations are different coming in. So I think we can help with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've certainly been talking to a lot of PE firms in the last, honestly, like just in the last year, like since 2024, it's almost picked up even more than it was in 2023.
It was heavy in 23. It's heavier in 24.
It's heavier. It's heavier.
Sure. Yeah. For sure. And I am hearing of, I've talked with several practice owners that have gotten clients from firms that have been bought by PE because of service falling off. And that's part of this disruption that I think is going to be natural. And it could be that those clients
want them.
It could be that it was an intentional letting go of clients, but I think there's
service lapse.
Yeah. But what's interesting is I think what these PE firms are going to do with a lot of these purchases is they're going to take some of the strategies that we recommend in Accounting Practice Academy, and they're going to apply the practices they buy. It's not rocket science, but it's just business. And
well, I think PE is going to infuse sort of what we're trying to do with the workshop, which is sort of just like strategy, thinking above your business rather than just like working in it. And so I am curious to see what that does for the industry.
Well, it's interesting because I think the thing that makes accountants so trusted and loved in one sense is what makes them, it's also what makes them overworked and high burnout and people not wanting to do the profession, is because they work so hard. They want to do very well by their clients. They want to please their clients. Yet they do that sort of at the expense of their own personal lives and their own potential. So that's I think private equity is going to come in and have a little bit more aggressive. They're going to have more aggressive pricing. They're going to have more aggressive upselling.
A little less, which in some ways is great, and in some ways is like, kind of sad. Like that kind of, not sad, maybe that's not the right word, but I think, when you think about like a mom and pop accounting firm, it's very relational, and I think so many of the sellers that we help sell their firms, PE buyers are just not going to be the right fit because, like you said, they care a lot about their clients and employees. And so that right fit purchaser for them is, very likely not PE. So.
Yeah, PE is not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. But I do think it's going to be a very disruptive force in the industry.
Yeah, I think so. It's already.
Yeah, I think they've already invested in maybe like a third of the top 100 firms. I don't know. Don't hold me to that statistic.
Yeah, we don't have a fact checker on this podcast.
I do. Yeah. I think it's creeping up into that really high percentage of the top 100 firms are being invested in by PE.
Yeah. Wow. So with all of that, what is kind of just an important piece of advice that you would share with our listeners? I know you asked that question to most of the podcast guests, so I thought I'd turn it back on you.
I would say if you own a firm, be fair to yourself. Don't just be fair to your clients. Be fair to yourself as well. It's okay to look out for yourself.
Yeah. A little self-preservation.
Yeah.
Don't have to work 3,000 hours.
You don't have to work so hard. It doesn't have to be that hard.
And do you have a book you'd recommend to the audience?
Yeah, y'all. I always have to get a book recommendation. I'm reading not an autobiography. I'm reading a biography. I like biographies, and my favorite biographer is the oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's the guy that wrote Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, Steve Jobs, and now I'm reading the one about Elon Musk. What's the name of the biographer? Walter Isaacson. So
Okay.
read any biography by Walter Isaacson. They're great.
I have one last question, which is, what's the craziest negotiation that you've ever done, and what did you learn?
I think the most memorable one, the first one that came to mind, is years ago, I had a retail tax group approach me to sell 36 retail tax shops. That was a franchise. And it was a good business because they had a management team and the profit was good. And, retail tax is a hard thing to sell, but
Not
when
like
you
solo 1040s mostly.
but when you have
solo
like
type?
it, when you have 36 of them, it's a real business. And so the owners actually didn't do any work in the business. They met with the
Oh,
manager
wow.
once a quarter. It was a really good business. And we had it under contract, and the buyer, everything was set. The money was set to transfer. And at the time, e-signatures were not as common as they are now. So we had to put a package with wet signatures into a FedEx and put it in a FedEx overnight. And so the next day, the deal would have officially closed and the money would have been transferred. And the day before the closing, like an hour before that package was supposed to hit the FedEx box, the franchisor wouldn't. It was like a mechanical problem. There was some sort of problem with moving some of the bank accounts to get transferred properly because they did these weird refund anticipation loans. And so there was a mechanical problem. And the seller essentially said, you know what? This is the last straw. I'm done. I don't want to sell.
Wow.
So the deal just blew up.
Hour before closing.
Yeah. And I had worked so hard on this deal because I had to put 36, when I built the profile, I had to put 36 stores in one spreadsheet and, combine them all. And
Oh, man.
it was so much work. And, yeah, that was probably 15 years ago. It was a long time ago.
That's a painful one to.
But I just,
wow.
I mean, I just remember, man, oh my gosh, this is, talk about a deal collapsing at the last minute.
Yeah.
But we've also had some that were easy, easier than you thought they would be. And
yeah.
So that happens too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you're not having to do most of the negotiating, delegated that out. We've got a broker team.
Yeah.
A little less, emotionally invested for you probably to.
Yeah, when you're brokering these deals, you get very emotionally invested in them, and you get to know the people, and
yeah, you care about them a lot.
You get attached to them, and so it's when they usually if a deal collapses, it usually takes the broker a couple of days to get it doesn't hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. So
well, those were great questions, Bailey. That was fun. You're good at this. You're good at this.
Good. Well, maybe I learned from my old man.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks, Bailey, for your preparation. And this was a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And if you want to contact Bailey, the best way to do that is just pogroupadvisors.com.
That's right.
And
I'm the gateway
she's the
to
gateway.
anybody you want to talk to in the company, pretty much.
Right.
When you first come in.
All right.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. You can keep the momentum going by subscribing and sharing your thoughts with us. Visit our website at poegroupadvisors.com for more resources, and tune in next time for more exciting conversations like this one.